Watson and Elijah was the only one got up and said something. When you know?
Well, that's her favorite granddaughter.
Lies.
I will stand and say, excuse me?
Lies.
I'm talking, I'm recording. I love my grandmother and I appreciate her for everything that she's done for me. And I just, even though I treat her like my child sometimes, but she says that I act like her mom, but that's just out of love. But there's not really a lot to say. I just love her, and my love for her is never gonna die. Even in her old age, I get worried about her health and, different things. But I know that God got her, and whatever His will is, that is His will. But y'all just pray my strength in the Lord. And anybody else got something to say? Because this is being recorded.
Amen. Amen.
Anybody else?
Praise the Lord. Amen.
30 minutes.
We thought Elijah's was long.
Praise the Lord, everybody. I know Mother Cephas is sick and she don't feel well. I believe if she felt well now, she would be here. I think she only travels when it's essential now, so everybody should think of that and think of her as wanting to be here, but not able and willing and mindful to be able to be here. I thank the Lord because even in her sickness, she took the time the other day, her along, I think it was Tanika and Sister Odell. She took the time and sung happy birthday to me on the phone. It was a long happy birthday song, which is saying happy birthday to you. And, all that she could do was sing happy birthday to me. And that was more than giving me $100 or $200,
Okay.
I appreciate Mother Cephas because I was left with my mother. I think my mother was, 62, 63 when she died? And I was sort of lost, without a mother, but I had a mother. I had Mother Cephas, to take her place. Maybe some of you wouldn't say that, but I say that, I had a long ordeal with my mother, and my mother did some things that I didn't like. And when I say didn't like, I didn't like. I couldn't be a son to my mother for maybe 10 or 15 years. It took me coming to the full gospel and talking to Mother Cephas about my mother. Some things she did, and she had told me, regardless of what your mother did, that's still your mother. And your mother only did what she did because she thought it was best for you at the time. I didn't see it that way, and I didn't want to see it that way. But nevertheless, it took Mother Cephas and her infinite wisdom to get me on the right track to accept and be able to love my mother. But before I had went to Vietnam, my mother was like my closest and best friend. I'd trail her anywhere, everywhere. Matter of fact, as a small boy, I stood up to my father when he wanted to beat and knock on her for nothing, no reason. Not only my father, but some of these other niggas she had too. I pushed my mother aside. I think I was 14 or 15. And I would take the punishment, or I would take up for my mother, And so, Mother Cephas became my second mother, like Elijah. She had said a lot of things, many things to me that I didn't like. And sometimes I would stay away. Anybody that knows me or have known me, know that I carry a look on my face when I'm agitated or I'm mad with you. I carry a look on my face, and you can easily see it. And I stayed away from Mother Cephas. I stayed away. And last time I think she had the surgery, and when she had the surgery on her neck, she had said something to me and made me mad. Because I was easy to get mad then. I was quick to get mad. Not to say I don't get mad now, but I don't get mad like I used to. I don't get mad for anything and everything. I still get mad, and you just lie when you say you don't get mad. But anyway, and Mother Cephas had just got her surgery. I think it was in Glen Burnie, and y'all took her out shopping. And she said, you couldn't stay away, could you? You couldn't stay away. I said, no, it's all right to get mad. We get mad with one another. But But the difference between us and the world out there, the world say, man, with you for years, forever, and never reconcile. Some of them die, mad, still mad with you. I know some things that happened when I was 16 or 17. And one day we happened to meet men in the store. The man, I ain't gonna call his name, he spoke to Bishop. How you doing, Reverend? And Bishop said, you didn't speak to him? He said, I ain't gonna speak to him. I hate his guts. He said, well, if you hate him, you hate me too. But that's the way the world is, you know. And some people right now, I ain't did nothing to them. They don't like me. Even some children, I ain't did nothing to them. They just don't like me. I don't know what's my look. What is it? They just don't like me. I know some people down Prospect Heights, they don't like me. You know, so they don't like me. I ain't never did nothing to them. I'll try to be nice, so I don't play with them and stuff like that, but it's some people that just don't like me for some reason. I don't know what I done done or what's wrong with me, but they just don't like me. But anyway, nevertheless, I appreciate Mother Stevens and all the counseling she's done for me, for us, and my, I think I've been around here now, over, it was 1979 when I came here, I think, just out of the Navy, and I've been around here ever since. Sometimes I done left, stayed away 6 months, a year, I came back. But nevertheless, it took Mother Cephas to hold everything, things together for me, for the family, for the sake of the Lord, for the sake of you. It took Mother Cephas, you know. And sometimes I'm so sad I don't see her sitting over here. But I know it's got to come a time when we're going to miss one another, or we're going to look around and for whatever reason, for whatever reasons, you know, we're just not going to be here. And so, just for get used to it, it's going to happen. For me, you, all of us. It's going to happen. So, and I appreciate the time I've spent with Mother Cephas. I've learned a whole lot of things. I've been better in my life because of Mother Cephas. I learned to accept some things that I wouldn't accept. One time, you couldn't say nothing to me before I was mad with you. A little more, I'll be punching your mother. But anyway.
Bless him, Lord.
It took. See, y'all always, y'all don't tell the truth about yourself. Y'all tell the truth. You know, it should be no secret, you know, to think back and look back where I come from. It should be no secret for all of us to look back in our lives and think and look, see where we come from. You know, and I appreciate Mother Cephas because, and now I know we're not talking about Bishop now, but talking about Mother Cephas, but even Bishop too, you know. They helped me along the way a long time because I came from the military. I was in the Army first, got in the Army, went in the Navy. And initially, I had some problems. As you might hear today, you hear guys coming from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Korea, and all these places, they have some problems. Sometimes you don't know you have problems. Other people can see it, but you can't see it. It's sometimes just like in the church, people may have demons. Some people don't know they have demons. You can see it, but they can't see it. And if they say it, they don't know it because if you got it, you don't want nobody to tell you that. And I didn't want nobody telling me that I was deranged or crazy or whatever. But you know, I had problems. I'm not crazy. I'm not deranged, but you know, the invisible wounds that war can bring on you, and some of the things that you have seen, you know, makes you a bad person sometimes. And for people to sit back and don't know, they just say, "Oh, he's just a mean old, worst thing I ever seen." But you don't know my story, so what a judging person not knowing the story that we shouldn't do. You ain't got to sit there. I'm finished.